you're real close to criminal trespassing, okay? I'm asking you to leave.
Well, you remember what I told you?
I will not ask you again to leave. Tim, I'm giving you an opportunity to leave on the restricted area.
Across the gate.
Real friendly people here. Trying to do a story promoting you guys. You're really making your company look good. Well, hello friends. I'm here in Rhea County, Tennessee, my second home, and it's been a couple years since I was here last, but while I was away, they opened this new Justice Center. And as I understand it, I guess the old courthouse and the county jail and the sheriff's office, all the related operations have all been moved up here from the old town. And when this opened earlier this year, from what I understand, they had a big grand opening and, you know, open house and offered guided tours of the facilities and all that. And unfortunately, I wasn't here for any of that. I missed all that. But I'm here now and figured, all right, well, I'll just stop in and take my own self-guided tour, and I'll go wherever my camera is allowed and film what I can. And I know a lot of you local taxpayers here, some of you have health problems and can't get out here, but you have a vested interest in this, and I'm sure you'd be interested in knowing how your tax dollars are being spent. So that's what this film is all about. And I've heard a lot of good things about this place, so let's go in and see what all the fuss is about.
Put all your metal and stuff in that rack out.
So that's what's going on here. Excuse me, what department is this?
Hi,
Hi, what department is this?
Judge Garrison's office.
This is the judge's office. Okay, thank you, ma'am. And what we have here, criminal division. Clerk and master. That place. I have a quick question. The old jail there, I heard that they've turned that like into a juvenile.
They are in the process.
They're in the process of that. Okay, that's so that's gonna be like the juvenile hall, I guess.
The detention center.
Right. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
The attorney conference room. Sergeant Wayne Cox. Now, he was the guy who picked me up when I got arrested. $1949. I probably have some relatives in that group shot. These are all women. See who this is. Oh, Judge McKenzie. Okay. So it's pretty quiet here today. Is there like a certain day of the week when they do the courts?
What is it you're interested in?
Oh, I was just curious, like when the courts are in session.
Well, we have courts on Tuesdays, like we'll have court again tomorrow.
Okay, Tuesdays and Fridays?
That's a normal day.
Normal
Now,
days, okay.
Depends on what type of court you're looking for.
Right.
If you're looking for criminal court,
No, just the courts in general. Just because I just noticed that it's just like so quiet here. I was expecting a lot of people here, you know.
normally by this time of day, they're wrapping up with a lot. Now, they did run some court over here in the general sessions, the first one over there, earlier today, but the only people that are allowed in on that are just the defendants and the plaintiffs.
Ah, so it's a private court.
That part is, and
Right.
then like tomorrow, there'll be a circuit court in here, and most of it's gonna be some type of criminal court.
Okay, that's in this one?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Could be.
Okay. I saw Sergeant Wayne Cox. I met him years ago. Is there certain hours that he's here?
Well, he would be here right now, but he had a doctor's appointment.
Ah.
That's why I'm sitting here myself.
Okay, I'll have to, he's a doctor appointment?
Yes.
He's usually here, what, until 5 or whatever, end of the
He's
work?
here till 4:30.
4:30. Okay, I'll have
He's
to,
here between 8 and 8:30, and he's here till 4:30.
okay, yeah, maybe I'll stop in again later and say hi to him. All right, thank you, sir. I shall see you there. Yeah, they got their own sheriffs. They all got their own building now. Circuit court clerk, not an entrance. Gee, I wonder why they have cameras up out here. I guess that's where they take, when they're transporting jail inmates. They take them in that van. Here's number 108. Pretty dark, I guess you probably can't see in there. I guess the numbers are only on the back. That one says scan. The others don't say that. And that one says 116, so we know that one's number. scan. Why do none of these have numbers on them? This old building here once was. Interesting. Might be a time to go live.
Hey Tim, you're in a secure parking lot. This is for judges. That's the reason we got gates. You ain't allowed to be back here.
I never saw any signs that said restricted area.
That's the reason we have gates.
Okay, but usually there's a sign that says
Well, I'm
restricted
asking
area.
you to go because it's restricted. That's the reason we have gates up.
Yeah, that's no problem.
Okay.
Do I got to go that way or can I go that way?
Well, which way did you come?
Well, I came that way and then this way and then that way.
And I would go down through there because you're real close to criminal trespassing, okay?
Well, there's got to be a sign that says something
No, sir,
with a
there's
penal
gates
code
up
on
there.
it.
There's a gate up there. That's common knowledge, so you need to leave, okay?
When am I going to hear from your attorney? You told me a few years ago I'd be hearing from him soon.
You're getting real close because you calmed down there for a little while. But, you know.
You know, yeah.
It's you're getting real close, so you probably got the final straw on it today.
Well, good. Well, I'd love to face off with you in court sometime, and
You had your chance.
Yeah, well,
times. Matter of fact,
I know you told
lost.
me a few years ago I'd be hearing from your attorney soon
matter
over
of fact, you lost in court. You remember pleading guilty for growing that marijuana?
No.
Oh, I've got documents saying that you did.
But I'll tell you what, even if I was guilty of
Hey,
that,
I'm asking you to leave, so I'm not.
you're really putting a dent on crime around here, aren't you?
I am.
Busting those marijuana growers.
That's right.
Wow.
That's
Really collecting a lot of revenue.
Put your eyes in jail, didn't it?
And I'm out too, aren't I? You remember what I told you?
I will not ask you again to leave.
Well, you remember what I told
will
you?
not ask you again to leave because you're violating the law right now.
Well, I'm live streaming, buddy.
That's great. I hope you live stream it so the people can see the real you.
Like they're doing you? Well, no, they don't see the real you because anytime cameras are on.
Tim, I'm giving you an opportunity to leave on the restricted area.
Well, you keep talking to me.
Go on.
Collect that revenue. Because you've never arrested a real criminal in your life. Hey, I'm going to give you a threat. I've got authority when I don't. Listen to this prick.
Hey, you need to get behind that gate.
Bice just told me.
Yeah, the sheriff said arrest you if you cross that gate.
Well, there needs to be a sign that says restricted area, and there's not.
But it takes a car to get in that gate. You need
Yeah,
to
but
get behind that gate.
If it said restricted area, I wouldn't have come back.
You cross the gate.
Real friendly people here. Trying to do a story promoting you guys. You're really making your company look good.
Come back behind the gate, you're going to jail.
You. Here's what they're most proud of. The holding tank, where they take the people that they kidnap and hold them for ransom. Well, folks, before I end this, I want to rewind back a few minutes to the encounter that I had behind the facilities. And you may have noticed that the officer who confronted me, he called me by my first name. So obviously he knows who I am.
Hey, Tim, you're in a secure parking lot.
So before we replay this, let me give you a little bit of a background on who this man is. This is a Rhea County Sheriff's Department employee. He's an investigator named Mike Bice. And he and I first encountered each other about 17 years before, going back to about 2004, I believe. And I was a new resident here at the time. I hadn't been living here for more than a year, and I didn't know who was who or what was what or what goes on around here. But at the time, I was working as a long-haul truck driver over the road, so rarely was I ever home. But on one of the rare occasions that I was home, Bice, who at the time was a narcotics detective, he and a couple of his armed goons came charging into my house without a warrant, and he beat me down good, and then they hauled me off to jail. And I was charged with some felony charges. They had found some marijuana plants growing in the lot behind mine, and there was plenty of evidence that pointed in other directions, but they just wanted to make a quick, easy bust, and they didn't care who went down for it as long as somebody did. And really what it came down to is that my house was the closest to the site, so they came busting in on me. So they hauled me in, and Bice here wrote up a very fallacious arrest report where there wasn't hardly a shred of truth in it. So I ended up having to basically plead no contest, or as I say, I pleaded too poor to fight the charges. But now whenever he sees me, he tries to justify his arrest of me by claiming that I pleaded guilty to the charges. And he's full of it. I never pleaded guilty to anything. That was a part of the deal that my attorney, he said that I can accept reduced charges without admitting guilt to anything. And I didn't. Anyway, the point being, although I could not seek proper justice, I thank God for our constitutional rights, and among them is the freedom to express ourselves, the freedom of speech. And I exercised that right. I told my story. I couldn't get justice, but I could tell my story to alert others. So I sat down with a video camera and I told my story in great detail and posted it on YouTube, and it's been there for several years now and has several thousand views. But what's so odd though is that after those court appearances, I never saw Bice again until about 15 years later. We had a chance encounter out at the courthouse a couple years ago. It's a historic old building, and I was down there taking pictures of it, and then suddenly I turned around and I saw Bice and of course a couple of his armed goons always close by his side. They were walking right towards me. And so for my own safety more than anything, I quickly took out my cell phone and started live streaming. And so this was our first encounter in over 15 years. Let's see how that went. Mr. Bice, do you have anything to say to your numerous haters out there?
Mr. Corbin, you're real close to harassing me.
I'm harassing you?
Yes, sir.
Well, there's a lot of citizens around here who feel that you're the biggest disgrace to ever wear the badge.
Yourself and your lies, you can talk to my attorney because he'll be getting real close to you. Because this is harassment.
Harassment?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. With your YouTube videos and stuff, you're getting real close to harassment.
Please prove that I lied about anything.
Please prove that I did.
Oh, I have. Okay, so now that you know the backstory, let's once again review this encounter and see how it goes. Might be a time to go live.
Hey, Tim, you're in a secure parking lot. This is for judges. That's the reason we got gates. You ain't allowed to be back here.
I never saw any signs that said restricted area.
That's the reason we have gates.
Okay, but usually there's a sign that says restricted
Well, I'm asking
area.
you to go because it's restricted. That's the reason we have gates up.
Yeah, that's no problem.
Okay.
Do I got to go that way or can I go that way?
Well, which way did you come?
Well, I came that way and then this way and then that way.
And I would go down through there because you're real close to criminal trespassing, okay?
Well, there's got to be a sign that says something
No, sir,
with a
there's
penal
gates
code
up
on
there.
it. What I am referencing here, you see, I didn't just drift aimlessly back there. I happen to have some knowledge on the criminal trespassing laws, and I am aware that in all public places, including government facilities, indoors or outdoors, restricted areas must be clearly marked as such. Otherwise, it's considered publicly accessible. And in order for criminal trespassing laws to apply, there has to be signs posted that has that penal code violation listed on it. So I knew when I went back there that the worst that can happen is that they could ask me to leave, but I knew that they couldn't arrest me for it, not without any signs posted. So throughout this encounter, Bice keeps threatening to arrest me, and I knew that if he did, then it would be a very unlawful arrest. But then again, that never stopped him before. However, before, there were never any cameras on him like there are now. And you know, I could have played hardball with him. I've seen people do that on other videos where they'll say, oh no, until you post the proper signs, I can be here. But no, I agreed to leave for a few reasons. For one, I just didn't want to be confrontational. I knew that that wouldn't do any good. I'm also aware that even if the trespassing laws did apply, that in order to be arrested, first you have to be asked to leave. And if you refuse to leave, then you can be arrested. So I knew that even if I was wrong about the signs, then I still can't be arrested because I've agreed to leave. And Bice, once I did agree to go, of course he tried desperately to chase me out of there, and I wasn't going to let that happen. I made sure to leave at my own pace. But the main reason why I agreed to leave is because I know this man well. And I knew that if I submitted to him by agreeing to leave, then that would give him the feeling of empowerment. And once he felt empowered, then that whole fallacious nice guy facade that he was trying to put on there with the camera on him, I knew that that would dissolve and his true tyrant self would come out, which is exactly what happened. He basically played right into my hands. I couldn't have scripted it better. So let's back up a few seconds and you'll notice how pleased he is when I agreed to leave, and then notice how quickly the threats come after. Usually there's a sign that says restricted area.
Well, I'm asking you to go because it's restricted. That's the reason we have gates up.
Yeah, that's no problem.
Okay.
Do I got to go that way or can I go that way?
Well, which way did you come?
Well, I came that way and then this way and then that way.
And I would go down through there because you're real close to criminal trespassing, okay?
See, I knew he couldn't go a minute without issuing a threat. This behavior that you're seeing him display here, this is what's known as being passive-aggressive. It's something that cops have been trained in recent years. After they lost so many cases because it was so obvious that the officers escalated the situations by yelling and screaming in people's faces, as Bice did to me the first time we met. So they've trained them to be passive-aggressive, where now they'll still threaten you with violence. They'll still threaten to arrest you and put you in handcuffs and lock you up behind bars and all that. But now they do so in a very calm, passive manner. So obviously Bice has been trained in this because this is the total opposite demeanor of what he had the first time we met. Well, there's got to be a sign that says something
No, sir,
with a
there's
penal
gates
code
up
on
there.
it.
There's a gates up there. That's common knowledge, so you need to leave, okay?
Wrong. The laws are not designed around common knowledge. The laws are structured so that unless it is expressly prohibited, it is permissible. When am I going to hear from your attorney? You told me a few years ago I'd be hearing from him soon.
You're getting real close because you calmed down there for a little while. But, you know.
You know, yeah.
It's you're getting real close, so you probably got the final straw on it today.
Well, good. Well, I'd love to face off with you in court sometime. You know what the difference is between me now and me then is that now I can afford to fight a court case, whereas then I was too poor and could only submit. That and the fact that I'm much more knowledgeable on the law now than I was back then when I first moved into this community and didn't think that I needed to know the laws to protect myself against local corrupt cops. But what is amusing to me here is that each of these last couple of encounters that we've had, he keeps threatening to file a lawsuit against me for harassment. Yet you'll notice that in each of these last couple of encounters, it was he who approached me. I didn't seek him out. In fact, that's the only reason why I rolled camera the first time was for my own protection when I saw him approaching me.
You had your chance.
Yeah, well,
times. Matter of fact,
I know you told me a
lost.
few years ago I'd be hearing from your attorney soon
Matter of
over
fact, you lost in court. You remember pleading guilty for growing that marijuana?
No.
Oh, I've got documents saying that you did.
If he does, then I'm sure his documents are as falsified as his arrest reports are. I don't remember ever pleading guilty for growing marijuana because I never did. But what I do remember is him coming onto my lot in a rage, and when I told him to get off my property, he ran into my house and beat me down while a couple of his armed goons, Sheriff Mike Neal and Chief Deputy John Argo, came in right behind him and stood close by with their hands on their guns in case I should be stupid enough to try to fight back. That I remember. And I don't have any documents to prove it, but I do have photo evidence showing that he charged into my house in a violent rage. But I'll tell you what, even if I was guilty of that...
I'm asking you to leave, so I'm not...
You're really putting a dent on crime around here, aren't you?
I am.
Busting those marijuana growers.
That's right.
Wow.
That's
really collecting a lot of revenue.
Put your eyes in jail, didn't it?
Yeah, I know he's real proud of all the people that he's locked up behind bars who never hurt anybody, innocent or guilty. And I'm out too, aren't I? You remember what I told you?
I will not ask you again to leave.
Well, you remember what I told you?
I will not ask you again to leave because you're violating the law right now.
What I was trying to ask him is if he remembers what I told him 17 years before, after he ran in and beat me down, and while I was sitting there in handcuffs with one of his armed goons at my side, he stood over me throwing these really harsh looks down at me, and so I threw the same looks back up at him, and then he leaned down and got nose to nose with me and said, "You got something you want to say to me?" You know, trying to provoke me when I couldn't have been in a more helpless situation. But I just looked away and I told him, I said, "Well, obviously you and I are going to have a history together." And then he, "Oh, a history together? That's a threat. Are you threatening me? Should I add those to the charges?" Not like the countless threats that he throws out at the citizens in this community whenever they let him out of his office. So from that moment on, it has been my mission. I told myself then that as long as this man is on the force, then I am going to do everything that I can to alert the community that they have this parasite in their midst. And so since that day, I have made numerous attempts to get the word out. My first attempt was in a printed form. I had self-published a little pamphlet where I told my story in detail. And then at some of the big annual community gatherings, I went there and passed them out and probably passed out a few hundred copies. So then a few years after that, I told my story verbally. As I mentioned before, I recorded myself telling the story in great detail, and I posted that on YouTube. And then a few years later, I forgot about this, but about 4 or 5 years ago, as I was coming into town, I see there's Bice and his goon squad, and they had some vehicle pulled over, a family, and they were looting through their car and trying to ruin some people's lives. So I parked on the opposite side of the highway and immediately got out, and I started policing the police, monitoring them. While I was doing so, one of his goons alerted him that I was across the highway recording him. So he sent one of his goons over to try and chase me off, but that didn't go so well for him. And this is another classic example of how the best defense against tyrant cops is knowledge of the law.
Can I help you?
No.
Okay. What are you doing?
Videotaping,
Videotaping?
recording, yeah.
All right. Well, good deal. That might just be used as evidence. Thank you.
Well, get a court summons.
What's your name?
I don't need to give that.
You sure?
Yeah. Am I breaking any laws?
Well, you're standing here videotaping law enforcement.
You don't want to be on
Kinda
camera?
like
Why don't you want to be on camera?
Well, I didn't say we did.
Okay.
I'm just kind of wondering what you're doing.
All right, well, that's what I'm doing.
Have a nice day.
All right, you too. And now since then, I've had these recent chance encounters with him where, thank God, I had my cameras with me, where I managed to capture his behavior and expose it. And as I pledged so long ago, as long as he's on the force, I will alert the public and expose him for what he is. And as of this encounter, it's been 17 years since I made that pledge, but he's still on the force, so my mission remains ongoing. So although he wouldn't let me ask him, maybe now he remembers and knows what I meant when I told him so long ago that he and I were going to have a history together. Well, I'm live streaming, buddy.
That's great. I hope you live stream it so the people can see the real you.
Like they're doing you?
You're real close. I'm asking you to leave. You're getting real close. I will not ask you again to leave. It's you're getting real close. Tim, I'm giving you an opportunity to leave. You're real close. You're getting real close. It's you're getting real close. I'm asking you to leave. I will not ask you again to leave.
Well, no, they don't see the real you because anytime cameras are on.
Tim, I'm giving you an opportunity to leave.
And I'm giving him every opportunity to maintain his qualified immunity that should have flushed down the toilet years before.
On the restricted area.
Well, you keep talking to me.
Go on.
What is quite obvious in both of these recent encounters that I've had with Bice is that no doubt he wanted to physically tear into me so bad, just like he did the first time. And it's so obvious that the only thing that was keeping him from doing so was the fact that I had my camera on him and that I was live streaming. That's the only thing that was keeping him from physically assaulting me. I knew it and he knew it. As long as I'm live streaming, why don't you act like you did when you were at my house and you ran in and assaulted me without a warrant? Assaulted me without a warrant. Assaulted me without a warrant. Collect that revenue. Because you've never arrested a real criminal in your life. Hey, I'm going to give you a threat. I've got authority when I don't. Listen to this prick. If I had more time, I would have asked him if he's been beating up any handicapped old ladies lately, because I heard that he was good at that.
Hey, you need to get behind that gate.
Bice just told me.
The sheriff said arrest you if you cross that gate.
Well, there needs to be a sign that says restricted area, and there's not.
But it takes a card to get in that gate. You
Yeah,
need to
but
get behind that gate.
if it said restricted area, I wouldn't have come back.
You cross the gate.
Real friendly people here. Trying to do a story promoting you guys. You're really making your company look good. Now listen to how he tries to make his department look better.
Come back behind the gate, you're going to jail.
Fuck you. Well, I wasn't going to argue with a moron, but my point being is that the way this new Justice Center has been architecturally designed, the private parking area in the back is set up so that the vehicle access is restricted, but it is pedestrian accessible. And I didn't climb over or under their so-called gate to get back there. I walked in by way of the public parking lot that sits adjacent to the private road and runs well past their, quote, gate. And I say it's a public lot because there are no signs that suggest otherwise. And I didn't have to climb over any walls to get back there. I'm a 60-year-old man with bad knees. I'd say that if I can walk back there, then pretty much anybody can. And you know what's sad to know is that in this day and age, unfortunately, the citizens have to know the laws better than those that we hire and pay to know them. But as you can see, many of our law enforcement officials have a lack of knowledge on the laws, so they try to supplement their lack of knowledge by creating laws of their own, which is not what that badge that we gave them entitles them to do. But if you don't know your rights, then they will take them from you, obviously. But if I have to educate them on the laws that they should already know, then that's what I'm there for. If anything, they should be thanking me. I pointed out a flaw in their security that they might want to address. Especially if there are any regional auditors out there who, I've seen these people who when they see these videos, they will go to these locations on a follow-up visit to see that these people know the laws that they're supposed to know and have been properly educated. So in conclusion, I am a law-abiding, tax-paying citizen, and my hard-earned dollars went into the financing of that place. So I have a vested interest here, and until they post the proper signs, I'm free to go back there to see and know how my tax dollars are being spent. Damn it. Have a nice day.